This has been my profile picture since I started the Chroo channel. But who the heck is he? Well, I had no idea. I scrolled through my phone's photos one day to find something that caught my eye, and I found this page of manga saved and saw this man's look. I thought he looked interesting enough, so I cropped him in. Manga, for those that don't know, is Japan's version of comics. The thing is, I didn't read manga at the time. I only saved this because I found it on Twitter. It was quote retweeted by Tom Bayer, who is incredibly influential on Japan's youth development in football. Delving further into the tweet itself, the guy talks about Arsenal's collapse. Still, I didn't know what manga this came from until the 2022 World Cup. Japan had an insane group stage, and it started with defeating Germany. Since my profile picture is from Japanese media, I made a community post on YouTube sharing the connection of the picture and Japan. It's no the blue lock is real, but manga's influence on Japanese football is evident. Several in the comments knew where this was from, and one responded with the exact details. Fantasista chapter, we'll get to that. Fantasista is a story that began serialization in 1999 and ended in 2004. Clearly, my guy isn't the main character, but I want to find him. My memory of the chapter number vanished, so I have no idea how much reading will be required. Nevertheless, let's go through the story of Fantasista up until we land on this page. Mizumoto High School is located in Tokyo, and they are participating in the Inter-High Tokyo preliminaries. It's one of the 3 main school competitions where if you qualify, you compete with 51 other teams from across the nation. For Mizumoto, reaching the preliminaries is a feat in itself, as in the grand scheme of things, they are a weak public school. Their qualification is thanks to coach Kotone Sakamoto. A National C license holder, she isn't the most humble, yet is able to walk the talk. Still, how can they win against Teepe High School, a team who won the Tokyo preliminaries a year ago and has Japan Youth International Ryuji Morikawa? Her idea is to press and counterattack. But the problem is if they do get into dangerous counterattacking situations, who will score the goals? She's got a secret weapon, and that weapon is late to the game. This is Teepe Sakamoto, a kid from a small island in Kyushu who's got the pace to be able to catch a thief on a bike. Oh, that's why he's late. Also, no, this is not the guy. Instead, he's a scout from AC Milan. He's with somebody who wants to show Ryuji Morikawa's prowess. Instead, the scout's impressed by Mizumoto's playstyle, reminding him of Lippi's Juventus. However, the quality of Morikawa becomes apparent as off a corner, he puts in a beautiful delivery onto the head of their number 9 for a 1-0 lead. What's amazing about Morikawa's delivery is that apparently he can replicate that on his weak foot, stunning the scout. A tough setback for Mizumoto, and unfortunate for the coach, as her secret weapon arrived just before. What are these two's relation? They're siblings, as Kotone taught Teepe everything he knows and sent letters to him on ways he can improve his game when they lived apart. She'd sub him in after Teepe nearly made it 2-0. Now Teepe has some flaws to his game, and that's due to him never playing in an 11v11 match. It shows, as he rushes the ball forward, not looking for a pass. Instead, he tries to dribble by each opponent, and to be fair, his speed is unstoppable as he gets by quite a few players. Even Morikawa's slide tackle is no match for him, as the kid smashes it past the keeper. The team goes crazy. Morikawa seems to think he knows this guy, and the scout is aroused. Unfortunately, Tepe's cons include his teamwork. At the halftime break, Captain Koichi Kosaka couldn't understand how this shrimp, who's taught by the coach, is so bad at team play. With some criticism from his sister, Teepe realizes what he needs to do and improves on that weakness as the match goes on. He also shows glimpses of being a fantasista. A fantasista is an Italian term used to describe a player who, whenever they receive the ball, throws the crowd in anticipation of their next move. Each volume of the manga highlights a fantasista in the sport. Examples are Maradona, Totti, and Sebastian Veron. Nonetheless, Teepe appears to be that type of player. However, he initially struggles with the basics, but when he improves, the scout gets more aroused. Unfortunately, Mizumoto can't handle Morikawa as he steps up again and finds his teammate for the lead. Then this man goes up to Teepe and says, "This is what a real game of football is like. You left the island too late." Teepe tries his best for his team to equalize, but it isn't enough. Post-match, Teepe continues to be weirded out by Morikawa till he realizes that he is his childhood friend. With the three reminiscing, the scout walks onto the pitch, and while the man he's with has been glazing Morikawa, he goes to Teepe and asks if he wants to sign for AC Milan. He of course says, "What the hell is he saying?" Teepe is Japanese. He can't speak Italian. So the other guy translates, and of course, his answer is no. Teepe wants to continue playing with those at Mizumoto because this is his first match, and he saw the sadness his teammates had after the loss. The scout understands, and is sure he'll be in touch soon. Before playing another match, Mizumoto has to practice, and in the time between fixtures, we learn about a few players. First, we have Fukuda Masashi, who is leading the anti-Teepe brigade. He isn't happy with how he messed up the team play, and the group sandbags it whenever Teepe does anything near them. That's where the number 9, Baba Kenji, steps up. He's the same age as Teepe and also a striker, so he'd be the most impacted by his arrival. Yet, he tells his senior that this isn't fair to Teepe, and after a scuffle, Baba says he'll just practice further so that he can win his spot back. The lads rally around him, while Teepe can't believe he's the bad guy. Afterwards, some drills are done to showcase a contrast between Baba and Tepe's strengths, as well as the coaches. She's an absolute baller. How is she not professional? Was my thought until she collapses. She hides the real reason on what's wrong with her, but later it's revealed that she could have been a great women's footballer. Unfortunately, due to a lung condition, she cannot run for more than 5 minutes. Despite that, she loves the sport, which is why she became a coach and moved to Tokyo. Moving past that, with these two strikers, Mizumoto can play in different ways. Need a big man up top? Throw in Baba, who gets compared to Patrick Kluivert. If speed is what you need, Teepe is your guy like R9. Or why not use both at the same time? The other player worth showcasing is another first year named Kusakabe Yuta, a defensive midfielder who struggles to control the ball, make quick decisions, and provide quality passes. So, everything you need for a midfielder. Fukuda constantly criticizes him, and Kusakabe storms out of training. Teepe finds him later, and for the next week, they train together to improve his weaknesses. They do so by practicing with glasses with the bottom half of the lenses colored in black marker. Whether this works in real life or not doesn't matter, as it works for Kusakabe. He returns to training, and is seen as a completely new player. Now everybody begins to train with the sunglass technique. That's all fun, but Coach Kotone wants to introduce some tension. So she calls her coaching license teacher to have his team, Tenjin High School, play in a friendly. Who are they? Just the best school in Japan. Funnily enough, like Teepe, they're from Kyushu. What's so special about them? Well, the 3 competitions mentioned in the beginning were already won by them, with their kit having 8 stars on it. Plus, 5 of their players were selected for the Japan Youth All-Stars. This is a clear mismatch. With their ability to press quick, strong despite their size, and speedy passes, they took a quick 2-goal lead. Their striker Izumi Taiga seems too much to handle. Plus, some on Mizumoto aren't taking this seriously since it's a practice game. This pisses off Fukuda as he starts lashing out at teammates. Apparently, Fukuda once got kicked off the team in his first year and only returned with Kotone becoming coach. Still, this group has some fight, as after Izumi talks down on his opponents, Teepe comes out of nowhere and crunches him with a tackle. Clean, of course. After a quick break and intense arguing, more players begin to show spirit. So much so that a goal is scored. While Tenjin might have gotten complacent, Mizumoto continues to step it up as Teepe goes on a miracle run. He gets by several, including Izumi, which sees him one-on-one with the keeper. Teepe decides to do a fake and churn to find space and equalize. Students begin to gather and watch, as would Ruiji Morikawa. He is joined by a guy who is also in a JFA tracksuit, Kaoru Okita, who is one of the 5 JFA All-Stars that isn't playing. He's heard about Teepe from Morikawa and seems impressed, so he decides to participate. He has so much influence that he tells Izumi to take off his shirt and give it to him, as number 10 is his number. On the pitch, Okita displays that he is the real deal. To understand his playstyle, it's best to compare his dribbling with Teepe. Teepe uses space to dribble at top speed, while Okita can enter dense areas and twinkle his way past multiple players. With the match ongoing, Okita continuously talks to Teepe. He doesn't understand why he's on such a bad team and how it's a waste that he rejected Milan. Guys like you and me should leave Japan and go overseas. He continues to talk crap about his opponents and coach and that he needs to aim higher. Teepe, a bit naively, doesn't understand what's wrong with the football he plays with his teammates, working hard to win and playing more interesting football than he did back on the island. Okita continues to yap and says he will leave Japan after getting Tenjin's 9th star. Teepe finds a new goal. He will earn that star at the National Athletic Championship and make his sister the #1 coach in Japan. That burden isn't just on him though, as the rest of his teammates wants to bring Kotone to nationals. With Mizumoto finding a second win, it becomes a back and forth affair until the other 4 JFA All-Stars arrive and decide to participate. 1 goalkeeper, and 3 other midfielders. While the 5 are tired from their JFA training camp, their presence is immediately felt as their passing game ramps up. This leads to Jinpachi Nakakura finding the lead. His teammate Izumi praises him, but he brushes him off and tells him not to make a big deal out of it. Their coach compares his midfield quartet to Brazil from 1982. Okita is the Fantasista, and every Fantasista needs support just as good as them. However, that 1982 team, incredible as it was, did lose to a goal from one single Italian striker, Paolo Rossi. Despite the struggle, Mizumoto shows some life. Teepe finds a 3rd one or something as he's sent through, but Tenjin's keeper sweeps up the play. Alright, Manuel Neuer. Close to the end, Tepe's out on the right, and just like in the training session with Baba, he crosses it to the number 9 and he heads it down. Stopped by the back of the keeper's leg, but the ball is loose, and who is first to get it? Kusakabe. The equalizer has everyone going nuts. Teepe collapses in exhaustion as the man doesn't even know how to pace himself, and the final whistle is blown. It's not a win, yet it's a massive momentum boost for Mizumoto before the national preliminaries. Tenjin though weren't at their true strength, so if they meet again, who knows what will happen. As they leave, Okita once again tells Teepe to leave that team. Teepe obviously doesn't, and has his eyes focused on their goals. Well, that's a little too ambitious, so let's bring it down a notch. Maybe a bit more? A little more? Okay, perfect. What are they preparing for? Zenkoku Goto Gakko Sakka Senshuken Taikai.
日本語上手。
How do you qualify? Firstly, Mizumoto has to play in the regional competition, which has approximately 300 teams. This phase requires a knockout stage to be won. If that's done, they move into the first round, which has 43 schools, including seeded sides like Teido. The 16 who qualify past this round are drawn into 2 sides. 8 schools on both sides will shrink down to 4 for the final round. Each team that wins their block will qualify for nationals. In their first match against Rico Academy, Teepe positions himself between the midfield and defense. Fukuda finds him, and Teepe weaves past all the defenders and smashes it past the keeper 5 minutes in. At the same time, some guys are recording their game, and they have appeared earlier in the story, spying from a distance. The spies are Kawai Keisuke and Omura Hiroya from Kanamachi High. Regardless, Mizumoto would win the match 3-0 thanks to Tepe's hat-trick, as the kid is ecstatic. This is his first ever victory in an 11v11 setting. He's seen teams win on TV and always imagined how it feels, and he and the team want that to continue. Mizumoto got to skip the first round, so their triumph led them to the semi-finals, where they destroy Fujiki Tech 4-0. Teepe grabbed another hat-trick as they're a win away from the second stage. They decided to watch the match, which will feature their next opponents, Kanamachi High and their spies versus Matsueda Business. Kanamachi High play a 5-back formation, and it isn't simply Catenaccio, it's electronic Catenaccio. electronic, because they spy on teams and analyze the footage they record to give themselves an advantage. Not exactly uncommon at this time, but for high schoolers to do this is crazy. They're also defensively strong, using not one, but 2 liberos. Nevertheless, the strategy paid off because in penalties, their keeper stopped every single shot to win and faced Mizumoto in the final. In the build-up to the final, Baba shoulders a lot of pressure as he wants to score against them, although he doesn't want a simple tap-in, which confuses Teepe. On game day, Kanemachi's electronic catenaccio is indeed strong, preventing Teepe from doing much. At least, that's what they think, as the kid can hit his top speed in a matter of steps like R9 and Michael Owen. Kanemachi's keeper, however, makes a great save to keep it level. They may have data on Teepe, but there's things that even infinite data can't help you with. So, they begin to double team him, and Kawhi will solely mark Baba, who he calls a puppet. Calling him a puppet and their Snorfest strategy works for a while. Still, Tepe's brilliance is able to create space, and at the end of the half, he finds Baba open, but is stopped. At half, Baba goes nuts at Teepe. Why? He thinks Teepe is trying to make sure he can get an easy goal because he hasn't scored one. Teepe though is just making the decisions he thinks are best for the team. Baba will soon know he's wrong, but he's just frustrated with himself. Regardless, the plan for them is to break down their opponent's stamina and find that opener. However, time goes by, space is limited, and no goals are scored. Then, in the last 10 minutes, Teepe drags some defenders towards him, leaving a little space for Baba to run into. Kukasabe finds the number 9, as Baba does a diving header for the opener. The padlock has been broken down. Despite Kanemachi pushing their former strikers back into that role for the last 6 minutes, Mizumoto hung on to win the regional tournament, moving on to the official first round. Before that, big news for Teepe. He got a recommendation from Tenjin High's coach to be picked for the Japan Youth All-Star Camp. For this camp, he decides to push himself as a playmaker, as he has some strengths for that position and will give his team the best chance to qualify for nationals, but he still needs to improve in other parts. The camp begins in chapter 34, and he looks familiar. At the end of this week-long camp, there's a tournament between them and 3 youth national teams. Only 18 of the 43 players will be picked. At this camp, of course, there's Tepe's mate Ruiji Morikawa, Henjin's Karo Okita, and another playmaker in Atsushi Kondo, who's the biggest dickhead ever. However, unlike some guys with his personality who are all talk, he's legit, actually being contracted to J-League club Tokyo Verde as a high schooler. While that's more common in the 2020s, back in the early 2000s, that was rare. During this camp, Tepe shows brilliance, but not in the way that pleases the director of the JFA and coach for the upcoming matches, Johan van Galen. That's gotta be him. We'll keep going though until we get to that page. Johan has conducted a list from the training session and ranked each player. Tepe's second bottom, and he's irate. What's this list? Well, starting tomorrow, every day the bottom 5 on the list will be sent home until there's 18 players for the weekend. When Tepe demands what was wrong with his play, Johan via translator Frank Liefde says there are 2 rules. 1. Everything I say is correct. 2. There may be a time when something I say is wrong. In that case, promptly refer to rule 1. This man's literally a dictator. Or he's just Dutch. Who is Johan van Galen? Well, he was a player for the legendary Dutch team from the 1974 World Cup and is also respected as a coach. Guessing on who he's based on, I think it's Wim Rijsbergen, but it could be Theo de Jong or Ari Hahn. Regardless, the translator Frank does want to know his issues with Tepe. Johan says he doesn't understand 50, 70, 100. Late at night when everyone should be in their dorms, Tepe was out late as Frank, smoking a cigarette, notices him and has a chat. Apparently looking at Tepe, he briefly saw an image of Johan Bloody Cruyff. After a nice conversation, Frank tells Tepe about 50, 70, 100, which is the percentage of the time you should be passing. Defensive third should be 100, middle third 70, and offensive third 50. Nowadays, it's probably 195, 90. In training the next morning, Teepe looks to be improving and begins to make the right decisions. However, later in the session, the players are split into 4 teams and play mini games. The catch is that you cannot carry the ball for more than 5 seconds. On the next day, it changes to 2-touch. This becomes a bigger challenge for Teepe, as in the former circumstance, he technically doesn't dribble for 5 seconds, but he keeps the ball around him, kind of ruining the point of Johan's drill. With the playmaker position, there seems to be some divide on how it should work. There's the Fantasistas, which include Okita and Morikawa. Then we receive an inner monologue from the assistant coach, as he believes Kondo's simple and physical football will prevail in the new era, as flashy Fantasistas won't be needed. Well, I can't say he was wrong, as the number 10 position for the most part died out for a while. The day's list is released, and Teepe survives. We also see 5 players sent home, including Yamazaki from Tenjin. Kondo then walks in and instigates chaos, calling everyone idiots for worrying about people dropping out. He then says Tepe's football is a circus show, and labels the person who coaches development an idiot. Teepe loses it, and punches that jackass in the face. Unfortunately for Teepe, Kondo is a lot bigger than him, and soon grabs him by the neck against the wall like he's Sasuke. Teepe isn't gonna back down with his sister being disrespected. This is where we learn of her lung disease. Morikawa also steps up to Kondo, though he retaliates saying Morikawa won't become anything special either. Johan then arrives and demands who was involved. These two. Who hit first? Teepe. However, Kondo instigated it. Then Johan makes a good point that if this was on a football pitch, it'd be Teepe who'd be sent off, not Kondo. Johan will go easy and not send Teepe home. Yet, there's punishment for the ranking. Tomorrow, Kondo will be deducted 1 point and Teepe will lose 1.5. With Kondo top the list, that won't impact him, but Teepe is now in real danger. Morikawa tries to convince Teepe to play as a forward rather than a playmaker, but Teepe refuses to back down. We then get another late night hangout with Teepe and Frank. I really enjoy these two's interactions. Nevertheless, we're at the next training session, where a guy named Taizo Okada is introduced. He's a second-year forward who's in the Kondo faction, and thinks he'll make the final 18 since in training, he's on Kondo's team. Until he is moved due to the dropouts. Moved to Tepe's. With Okada and Teepe together, they're on completely different wavelengths and begin to argue. This is where Johan steps in, and Frank. Their team's football is too unrefined, and their passes have no words to them. What does he mean? We see Johan give a pass to Tepe's right foot. Teepe tries to make the same pass to Okada, but Johan doesn't approve. Johan asks Okada if he was able to read anything from Tepe's pass. Okada says no. You guys don't understand the true nature of passing. One pass alone holds a lot of information. Think, Teepe, think. The pass I gave to you, was it on your right foot or left foot? When he got the ball, there was no way his 3 defenders would let him do anything. I passed to your right foot because your marker was riding on your left side. So if you all understand this between each other, a right-sided pass will send information meaning a defender is on your left. For that matter, when a ball's passed in front of you, it can say that there is no space behind you. If it's a slow pass, it can say there are no enemies around you. Okada looks on. For the players doing well internationally, even if they're teamed up with players of a different language, they still manage to pull off great plays. That's why. It's the picture, let's go! 40 chapters and we found our guy. It was a little more than I expected, but I had a great time reading it. This specific arc is interesting, seeing the in-depth football talk. Throughout the manga, this stuff is sprinkled in, along with comparisons of tactics to real-world stuff and references to footballers. It's also cool seeing classic football shirts being worn in training. While you can nitpick whether Teepe can make it at a Japanese youth level with the negatives in his game, let alone be scouted by AC Milan, I still enjoyed what I was reading, and I'm rooting for Teepe and Mizumoto. I definitely want to continue it and see where this story goes. If you want to as well, I do think it's worth reading from the start, as there are smaller details I didn't go through. There's no official English translation, although there are scanlations online. If you liked hearing me talk about manga, I have another channel where I posted 2 videos. I've really gotten into the medium in the past few years, so it's an outlet for me to talk about it. If you want to check it out, I'd appreciate it, and maybe I'll post more there.